Hi, everyone. This is our second live webcast reunion with cast members from ABC's daytime series, Loving, and I'm your host, Peggy Ellis. We actually, during our last broadcast, we talked to the ladies of Loving and balanced against some very fond memories of shared antics backstage as well as sisterhood. There were also some really truly powerful stories of them sharing some things that happened in the pre-Me Too moment. But it's unfortunate to have heard that, but we really did appreciate hearing them so heartfelt. And we thank you ladies for sharing so candidly with us. It's unfortunate, but I think a lot of us have those stories. And today we're going to get to the men of Loving. One of those is my co-producer and partner, the Curtis Alden #1 on the show, Christopher Marcantel. Hi, Chris.
Hi. How are you doing?
All right. Before we get any further into things, I do want to introduce a very important square over here. If any of you were here the last time, you know this person. Her name is Tricia Shatney, and she is a mad Loving super fan. She started watching the show when she was 12 years old, and she contributed so much, as well as her friends, to helping us put this together, because if it weren't for the fans, then where would any of us be in the entertainment business? So we'll be back with her in just a little bit. You want to say hi, Tricia?
Hey.
Hey. All right, so let's introduce some of these gentlemen. First on the docket, we have not one, but two, count them, two Curtis Aldens coming here. So please, before any further ado, let's get to our amazing, handsome Chip Albers. Hello, Chip.
The only Curtis Alden.
The one, the only.
Hi, I'm Chip Albers. 4. I think it was 89 to 91. Did you want me to say some more things, or we're going to do the intros first?
No, go ahead. Go ahead and start your intro.
I live in Southern California right now. California, actually up by Santa Barbara area, in a town called Fillmore, with my wife and our brand new little Great Pyrenees dog who's 6 months old, and our little kitty, Sydney, and we're loving it up here. So how you guys doing? I'm glad you guys are here. I'm glad we made it.
And there's Chris Cass.
Hello, I'm Christopher Cass. I played Jack Forbes from 91 and 93. And after I left the show, I stayed in New York for a while. Actually, I did another soap. I did As the World Turns for a while. And then I came out to California. I was married, still married, 32 years. Same wife, Winship Cook. And I've been out here in California. I live in L.A. In fact, I live by where all those riots were going on a couple of weeks ago. Here's one of those rubber bullets.
Oh, yeah.
I'm teaching acting right now at the New York Film Academy in Los Angeles. I was the associate chair of the department, and I just teach acting for film. Occasionally do a commercial here and there. I'm doing some voiceover work. I'm a member of the New York Classical Theater. We do Shakespeare in the Park in New York. I haven't done anything with them for about 5 years, but that's me, just hanging out. And these are some of my best friends in the world right here on TV.
Awesome.
Great.
Next is James Horan. There we go. Go, James.
Go, James. Hello, James Horan. I played Clay Alden on Loving 89 to 91. At present, I've had a house in the North San Fernando Valley for the last 18 years. I'm happily married for 15, and we have a nearly 14-year-old son. And my wife is from Italy, and she used to watch us on the Italian version called Quando Si Ama, When We Love. And since Loving, God, I came back out here and I've done a bunch of guest stars on different primetime shows. I did a bunch of Star Trek episodes, usually in 3 hours of alien makeup. Been active in on-camera commercials, voiceovers for the last 25 years. Did nearly 100 video games, a couple of animated series. The last thing I did was played an alien on Seth MacFarlane's series called The Orville. And just digging life. Yeah.
All right. And
still living that dream, huh?
Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby.
All right, Mr. Randy Mantooth, you're up next.
Hi, Randy Mantooth, played Alex Masters. Well, some of the earlier like Tricia, she'll probably know that I actually started out playing Clay Alden, and then they switched the role and they said, we don't want you to play that role anymore. We want you to play Alex Masters. So from 87 to 90, I played Alex, and then I left, and then I came back in 93 and played again Alex, and stayed until the end of the show when it became the city. What am I doing? I am keeping my head down due to this pandemic thing, which is, at first, I thought it was the greatest vacation I ever had. I'm utterly bored with it now. For 6 months, every day has been Sunday. And you would think that that'd be a great thing, but I'm over that. What have I been doing? Well, right now, doing a lot of theater. I did a film called The Bold Native, which I really am proud of. And then went to the Purple Rose Theater, Jeff Daniels' Purple Rose Theater in Chelsea, Michigan, and did 2 plays there. And right now, my old partner on the show Emergency and I are doing a documentary on paramedics and the EMS system in North America. And that is probably the most exciting thing I've done since I became an actor. So there you go.
Awesome. Next up is Christopher Marcantel himself. How you doing? You got your breath back?
I'm doing all right. I stopped acting years ago. I started directing. I did a little stint, started trailing on the city, I guess it was, and then moved over to the Guiding Light, and then got caught up in commercial work.
One important thing you didn't mention, though, Chris. You are what is your role?
What is my role? Where? Curtis Alden, number 1 and 7. I believe.
7.
I believe there were 5 that came in between.
7.
And they got blonder and buffer over the years, I believe. So that's it for me.
Okay, so
yes. Let's chat.
Christopher, you may want to explain to the viewers what trailing is.
Trailing. It's kind of like if anyone has ever worked in a restaurant, it's following behind a director who watching what they do. You kind of watch and then you do a segment and little bits here and there. And I guess I was behind Casey Childs and Matt Penn at the time, and then over on Guiding Light it was Bruce Berry. It was very exciting. I mean, it's like doing a sports show. It's you got the 4th cameras up there and you're clicking your fingers and you have to plan everything out in advance. And so but trailing is just following around somebody who knows what they're doing and trying to figure it out.
Kind of like an apprentice.
An apprentice, yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That's
we have one more square here that we haven't met yet, and that is not one of our cast members, but a very integral part of every show that happened on Loving, I would say. And I don't think many of you would disagree with me, and that is Mr. Brendan Higgins, our stage manager extraordinaire. Woo!
Hey, how you doing? Brendan Higgins here, stage manager for 14 shows now. And I was started on Ryan Soap as a gopher and worked my way up through Loving. And they made me a PA, then they made me a stage manager. I worked with all these great guys here. We had so much fun in New York back in the day. When I had hair too once, trust me on that one. But we always used to bounce around New York and hanging out. And I went on from there with the city, All My Children, One Life to Live. There I am on the Puck Building with our director, Bob Cinto and Randy. And there's a group of us taking a picture over at Ron Rinaldi's studio. And there's another picture of us with Summers on my shoulders. Looks like Rick Tejas there and Barbara. Is that Barbara? I don't know. I can't tell the face. Anyway, so I jumped around and all the shows, As the World Turns, Days of Our Lives. I came out here and I did Bold and the Beautiful, General Hospital, Days, and they finally called me Young and the Restless and said, we are looking for someone over here. I came over and I started 2 days later, and I've been there for 6 years, and my partner retired, so they made me the number 1 guy. So it's really good to have a job, even though we've been out of work since March 13th. But I just went and got a swab today and hopefully go back to work next week. So we'll see what happens. Fingers crossed. In the interim, I did a lot of rock and roll stuff. I owned a bar in New York with Randy and a bar in New Orleans with a girl named Dixie on All My Children, Katie McLean. Did the Grammys as well, a couple of Sundance festivals. And I'm just now back to doing Justice Soaps on Young and the Restless. And it's a full-time gig, and I'm very happy. I have a beautiful wife, Christina, and my lovely daughter is Amelia, and we live here in Los Angeles. I live a few blocks from Christopher. I see too much of him. He rides his bike over, and we wave to him out the window. And Chip's about an hour away, and Randy's about an hour and a half away. And James, I don't know where you are, but I'm going to track you down.
Union.
Absolutely, brother.
Where are you from originally, Brendan?
Kingston, New York.
Oh, yeah.
My mom and dad were born in Ireland, and they settled in Kingston. My dad was an IBMer for 33 years and had 7 children, and I'm one of those 7. So,
and his mother's adopted all of us.
It's good to see everyone. Nice to see you, Tricia. Lovely to meet you. And lovely to meet you.
Perfect segue, Brendan, actually, because I think that she's itching to ask you guys some questions over there. So do you have some that you've come in from the Facebook page that you oversee?
I do. I have one for everybody. But first, I wanted to say that I'm really excited to be moderating our second live webcast. The show was such a big part of my life, and I'm thrilled to be face-to-face with all of you. And thank you so much for sharing your time with us today. We really appreciate it, and all the fans really, really love it. So let's have some fun and find out what's going on in Corinth with some of the men of Loving. The first question is for James, and it was submitted by Robert of Chicago, Illinois. I hope you won't find this too personal, but as a fan myself, I'm very interested in your answer. How did you meet your wife, and did you know she was a fan of yours?
Well, there we are now. As I mentioned before, I had done a bunch of Star Trek episodes over the years on all the modern series. I did 2 Next Gens, of Voyager, Deep Space Nine. I was recurring on Enterprise with Scott Bakula. And then I started doing conventions, Star Trek conventions, and I got an opportunity to do one in Italy. As many of you know, the Italian fans were quite rabid for the show as well. And so I got to go to this lovely little town for the Star Trek convention. And I needed a translator because not many Italians speak English. So they assigned me this lovely lady, partly because she used to watch me on Loving. Says, we're going to give you that guy from Loving. And so, she spoke perfect English. And I sat next to her for 4 days, and I was smitten, shall we say. And so, after we were there for 4 days, I asked her, where's this going to go? And she said she was Brendan, she was going to Ireland the next month to just see some folks. I said, hey, that's my country because my grandparents are from Ireland. And I met her there, and she finally came here to see me, and I proposed in the kitchen, and the rest is history. What can I say?
That's great.
That's a great answer. I loved hearing it, and thank you for indulging into a bit of your personal life for us.
Well, that's all right. That's all right.
Okay, so our next question is for Christopher Cass, who I don't mind saying has always been one of my favorite actors. I love to watch you as Jack on Loving.
Thank you.
This question was submitted by Matt from Rolfe, Iowa. He writes, Perry Stevens played the role of Jack Forbes for many years. When you were cast, how did you approach the character, and did you feel any pressure in taking over the role?
I never seen the show before. So when my agent sent me up for it, I didn't know the character. I didn't know the storyline and anything. And I just went in with all the advice from all my acting coaches, which was just be me. And I was just did myself. And then at the audition, got the callback and then the screening test. What was the second part of the question?
Did you feel any pressure?
Yeah, I did because once I got on the show, then the producer, Jackie Babin at the time, gave me a stack of soap opera magazines because I knew nothing about the show. So, and I had a month before taping. So I went back to LA. I was living in LA at the time, and I went back to LA with a stack of soap opera magazines and started reading about Loving and finding out who this character was and what he did. And basically what I was told was Jack Forbes, richest man in town, he can take apart an airplane engine and put it back together again and fly and can swim Olympic laps, and was just all around amazing guy. I was a little it was a little too much at the beginning. It really was, because I had no idea. I was way over my head. This was the first big job I'd had. And Lauren Marie was great at the time. And I was just sort of winging it my first couple of days on the show. And then I'm waiting for it to air. And my first day of airing was the first day of the Iraqi war. It got preempted. So I didn't show up for like 2 weeks because of all the bombing. They preempted all the daytime shows for 2 weeks that year, 91, whatever. So that kind of, in a way, was kind of helped that there was those 2 weeks lapse that no one kind of knew the war was the big issue, not my introduction to a new show. So I kind of went under the radar for a while, which worked out perfectly for me.
Right. Yeah. No, that's great.
Well, he started the war.
Yes.
Okay, so we have a fun question for Chris Marcantel.
Uh-oh.
It was submitted by Jules of Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Jules wants to know if you can name all the actors who played Curtis Alden.
Oh, Lord.
Look at this.
That's like
Can you do it?
That's like doing the Seven Dwarfs.
In order.
In order. You always miss one when you try to get those dwarves. I would say there was Christopher Marcantel as opposed to Chris Marcantel. There was Lyndon Ashby, who we know, who showed up in our Ladies of Loving because he ended up marrying Susan Walters. Number 3, you had to do it in order, huh? Because I know Burke Moses, who ended up playing Gaston on Broadway, and at that point, I was like, Curtis is changing. He's a very big, muscular man. So was he number 3? Am I correct on that? Oh, okay. Well, we know number 4 because he's here with us today. Mr. He was with us. Where'd he go? See, you can never have two Curtises in the room at the same time. So
he's
we're
buffer than the last one, isn't he?
We're up to 4. I only know the name Patrick Johnson. I don't know who he is.
Yep. So far, so good.
And I have been telling people for a long time that I was the 1st and the 7th, and I know that there was another one, but I do not know who it was. And does anyone here know who it was? And did anyone here actually work with him? These are the questions.
Tricia knows.
It wasn't Ron Newell, was it?
Nope.
Nope.
Yeah.
Somebody must have worked with him because it would have been.
I had to work with him, but I don't. Patrick Johnson, I remember. Who was it? Tricia would know.
It's Michael Lord.
Michael Lord, of course.
Oh,
yes,
Lord.
Who I saw in New Orleans.
Oh, my goodness gracious, of course, yeah.
I remember him.
You might not have known he played Curtis Alden, though. That's the problem.
I saw him on the. I had a bar in New Orleans, and I saw him on the street at Mardi Gras one year. He's like, Brendan. I'm like, Michael. So, yeah, Michael Lord. He's a good guy. Good guy. There's 7.
And then there was the return, where I was kept in a cage by the evil Dante, who fed me cat food and called me Pussycat. I escaped only long enough to find my wife in the arms of my best friend Trucker.
It's always the way it is.
Welcome to the world of soaps.
Speaking of the world of soaps, Randy, how did you feel about that whole Clay Alex thing when it happened?
Boy, it was literally the most bizarre thing I've ever had in my acting career. I'm hired to play Clay Alden. About 7, maybe 8 months, 9 months into it, they said, we don't want you to play Clay anymore. And I thought, oh, well, shoot, they're showing me the door. And they said, no, we wanted a villain with a heart, but we think we want a hero with an edge. And I went, okay, I'm out the door. And they said, so you're going to be Alex Masters from now on. And I couldn't understand the semantics. Villain with a heart, hero with an edge. Me, you know, that's shading semantics to the nth degree. And I quickly went in and called my agent and said, now, how much am I getting for this? And they told me, and I went back to the producer and I said, brilliant, love the idea. I thought it was the most insane idea I think I have ever heard. But they said, you're in soaps. This is what soaps do. And I said, okay. So I played Alex Masters for the rest of my career on Loving.
I know somebody else who thought something was a brilliant idea. When they gave John O'Hurley 2 characters, he actually went to AFTRA and got paid twice.
Oh,
baby.
Yeah, that's the way to go. Keep that in mind next time somebody splits your personality.
I want to say something real quick. So, you know, we all came together when I got on the show my first day. When I got backstage, when I was up in the dressing rooms area, they were introducing me to the cast, and over by the dressing room, they brought me over and introduced me to Randy. This is Randy Mantooth. You know, Chip Albers going to be playing Curtis Alden. And Randy goes, oh, hold on 1 second. Can you hold this cup for me, please? So he gives me this cup, and I'm standing there, you know, and people are introducing me, and all of a sudden, I start to feel that my pants are getting all wet. I look down, and I'm soaking wet. Randy had poked a hole in the cup, and the water got all over me. So that's what started all the practical jokes. And for the 2 years I was on there, that's all we did.
They did that
just constant. We had so much fun backstage.
My first day.
But yeah, that was my first moment meeting Randy Mantooth.
My first day as a PA, I was already in the office, but my first day on the set with the actors, Randy walks up with Richard Steinmetz and says, holy God, you're a mess here. Wipe all this stuff off. So he starts wiping me. He goes, here, hold this. He hands me the coffee cup. They hand it to you down. You take the top of the frame of the cup, the holes in the bottom. It's got warm water, so it doesn't hit you right away, not cold. And you're standing there holding it, watching someone wipe your stuff down. All of a sudden, you're like, why am I and I'm soaking wet. That's how they welcomed everyone to the set. We had a lot of fun. We did a lot of pranks, a lot of fun. It was only a half-hour show. We got away with murder, didn't we?
We got away with murder.
We did a lot of fun stuff.
One of my, it wasn't my first day. It was at least my first week there, though, because Chip was still on the show. And I'm pretty sure it was either Chip or James. Brendan you weren't the stage manager yet, but you were still your second AD. Yeah, you're on the floor and you're wearing your shorts. And I think it was either James or Chip that came behind you and just whipped your shorts down. And you're sitting there in your underwear in front of the whole cast and crew on the set. That was my first week.
Maybe it was both of us, Chip. We each took a leg.
I did that to him in Little Italy.
In Little Italy at night,
on the corner of wherever we were, and I couldn't help myself. It was in the summer. He had these shorts on, and I went, oh, and I walked up behind him.
But he got both pants, underpants and shorts.
He slowly pulled his pants up and turned around, and I swear to God, if looks could kill, I'd be a dead man. But let me just say this about Loving. I sort of looked down on soaps.
We all did.
Until I saw my paycheck, and then I started looking up, and then one day. It was in '93, I think it was, and I had this wonderful apartment on 8th Avenue, and the alarm rang, and I had to go to work, and I could walk to work if I wanted to, and it was in the spring, and the windows were open, and everything, and I swung my feet out of bed, and I looked down at my feet, and I went, my God, and they're paying me. Mm-hmm. I've never had more fun doing anything than I did doing Loving. The camaraderie, which still exists to this day, as you can see, everybody in front of me, I consider my best friend. Most of them were at my wedding. Both of them.
I DJ'd that wedding.
My feeling for Loving is very close to my heart.
You might say those were the days of our lives.
Baby.
It seems like another world.
I guess, so I think, James, you're wearing the shirt, the loving shirt.
Oh, yeah. Let's get it.
Softball. We had a softball.
Look at that.
This was the loving softball team.
We had the softball team.
That was Richard Steinmetz, man.
Oh, yeah. And there's our loving jacket.
I'd come back after the weekend and I'd newsletter and I'd write all the fun stuff we did over the weekend. Do play-by-play of everybody's success during the games, and it was fun. We had so much fun.
Peggy, you got something to say there?
Peggy wants to speak.
Can I interrupt for 1 second and we'll get back with Tricia? But somebody said that there was some soap article about you all dressing up as women and crashing.
That was James, that was Chip, and me, and we broke into. We weren't allowed to go to this. What
was Lauren Marie's baby shower or something? Or
Lauren Marie, yeah, I'm pretty sure Lauren.
What was the?
You don't need an excuse for a party to dress up as a woman, Randy.
No. Any excuse. We didn't make up an excuse. We went straight into makeup and
Did you
wardrobe.
stay in character the whole time?
Oh, please.
Oh no. We were women. We were.
No, I mean,
women.
did you stay in the shower? Okay.
We had makeup. We had everything, and I remember so distinctly pulling up to the front of this apartment. Oh, it was at Noel Beck's place. And we were getting out of the Jeep. We were in somebody's Jeep. Oh, we were in your Jeep, Chip. And I remember Chip. I remember this guy and these 4 ugly dudes get out, all dressed in makeup, wigs, dresses, and everything. And the guy kind of stopped and watched us all climb out of this Jeep, this convertible Jeep. And the guy turned to Chip and said, "Is this a college prank?" And Chip says, "No, we're going to a shower." The guy just kind of didn't know how to respond to that. And we marched 4 ugly women. We marched right up to the front of and took the elevator up and knocked the hell out of them.
Speak for yourself, honey. I thought I looked great.
It's funny. I just recently I just did a play called Casa Valentina, and it was about a bunch of men that were part of this club in the early '60s that dressed up like they were heterosexual men that like to dress up as women.
Great play.
And so I just did it at the end of last year, and it was such a hoop because it reminded me when we dressed up on Loving. That was like the first time since then, but I do remember because I had Curtis actually did that on the show. We dressed up as women. We crashed. I think it was I forget whose wedding shower it was or something. But
that's right.
Yeah, it was. I remember going into the convenience store there, Randy, when I was there at the Jeep, going into the convenience store. I think I was with Richard and buying some gum and stuff with our dresses on.
We should do a remake of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Okay. I'm going to kick it back over to Tricia for another question, and we can see where things go from there. Is that
There's
fair?
more questions.
More questions.
Okay, so next up is Chip Albers, and your question is it's from me, actually. I would like to know how your audition went, and did you watch the first 3 Curtises before taking the part?
Well, it was interesting. No, I didn't watch the show prior. The one time I do remember watching the show before I got on the show, I remember Randy Mantooth, I think it was his first day, playing the new character. And you had the biggest monologue I've ever seen in my life on daytime television. You went on and on and on. And all I remember was going, oh my God, is this what it's going to be like? Memorizing all those lines. I just remember you went through that whole thing. Do you remember that day, Randy, when you had that massive monologue? You were in the Alden mansion, and it went on for like 10 minutes. Do you remember that?
I remember a lot of them. I don't remember that specific one, but those monologues scared the crap out of me.
Yeah, I remember something. Wow, this is going to be a show full of monologues, and I had a couple of them myself. But I remember the screen test. I went last, so I was able to watch. I think it was me and two other gentlemen. I don't remember. I think it was the 3 of us. And I remember watching them, and I felt pretty confident, but after seeing their auditions that, maybe I got a pretty good shot at this. And then, I think a couple days later, I got the call from my agent that I had booked it. But I remember the scene with Rena Sofer, and it was a love scene. You had to, there was the way they blocked it. I had to go up behind her and whisper in her ear and, tell her how much I care for her and, that type of thing. And, I did the scene and I thought I did pretty well and ended up booking it. And I remember Rena, that was the day I got the water on my pants from Randy, they brought me up to the dressing room and Rena was so excited that I was the one that got it. And she said to me, yeah, the guy before you, he was kind of breathing in my ear and he just creeped me out. So I was hoping he wasn't going to get it. So I was just grateful to get it. I was honored to be on the show and honored to be with all these great guys. And so that was that for me.
That's a great response, though. I loved hearing it. Okay, so next we have Randy. And your question is from my really good friend, Tracy, who lives in Dalton, Georgia. Her favorite loving couple was Ava and Alex. She would like to know what your thoughts were about Lisa Peluso taking over the role of Ava and the amazing chemistry that you shared on screen with her.
I was absolutely dead set against Lisa playing the role. Roya Mignot and I had developed this friendship, this relationship, and so when Lisa came in, I resented it for about a week, and then I went, well, she's not Roya Mignot, and nor should she be, and she was wonderful. For the rest of that time, actually, I was married to Ava longer than I was my own wife. But I loved the relationship that Lisa and I developed, and we still text one another, when we can. I just adore Lisa.
My first acting job on a soap as a day player was playing a rival boyfriend with Lisa Peluso on Search for Tomorrow. She had just kind of made the segue from child star to heartthrob or young teen, and I was a rich jerk. It kind of continued on.
She's a great girl to work with.
She was indeed.
I loved hearing your response because I loved Alex and Ava so much. I loved the entire storyline and everybody who was involved in it. So
she was probably the most pliable actress I've worked with. She would turn on a dime because I'm notorious for not sticking with the script, and you always know there's a good actress or actor in front of you when they actually are listening to you and respond that way, because what I say sometimes isn't in the script, and you really have to pay attention to what the other person is saying so you can respond, and she did every time.
I enjoyed working with Lisa so much. I mean, she was absolutely incredible. We were doing a scene one time where she was dusting some of the antiques on top of this table and knocked it over and it went flying into the set. I mean, flying past the cameraman. And we just kept going in the scene. I'd have to find that scene, but she knocks it over. We both laughed and we just continued the scene. It was great. And in fact, she went to go pick it up. It wasn't that far off, but she went kind of off camera, picked it up, came back, put it back down, and we continued the scene. She was brilliant. Yeah.
Okay, so the last question from the fan question and answer is for Brendan.
Oh.
And for that, I'm going to send it to Peggy because she's going to do this one.
Okay.
Well, since I've actually been a stage manager on stage in the past, I thought that I would come up with one for you. So my question is, after listening to these ladies of loving talk about all of their backstage antics, it sounds like there was all sorts of crazy stuff going on all the time. Mm-hmm. And I was just wondering if there was ever a prank that came close to actually disrupting the ability for you to get the show that day.
Yes.
Okay. Probably more than one, but what's your most memorable?
Hundreds of stories, but I'll tell you one thing that I keep around. I happen to have it here in my back pocket. That's my tool, my headset, and I take it out like that to mark my script. We're going to do a pickup. Then I show the actor where we're doing the pickup so they could see exactly where it is. Well, the crew guys have nothing better to do than to mess with people when they're not busy. And there's a group of them. When I'm running around, they're all just sitting there. I go, props. So the prop guys will come in, but a lot of times they're just sitting there watching. So one day I had a big family dinner with George Palermo and all these guys, and I went in to do the thing to give a pickup to the actor, and I went like this. And I'm spitting. Someone put Tabasco sauce. One of the crew guys, Tom Tersey, it was.
Tommy Tersey.
Hey,
Are you watching, Tommy? Were you able to get online?
The control, I'm like, Brendan, they're in my ear going, what's going on down there? And I'm like, oh. That's just one. And I'll give you a quick one. I talk fast. A great Randy one is we had a little syringe on set that we used to go up to people and squirt on their pants so they looks like they're kind of wetting themselves. So I see Randy opening a door as Alex Masters with Jean Leclerc and Lisa Peluso in the penthouse, and he's spying on them because he's in love. He's back on the show. And I look and see Jordan's blocking that there's a hole. I'm like, oh, perfect. And Randy's right there. He won't know I'm there because I'm between the sets. So I went to the prop guys. I go, props, leave the syringe with water in it on the side of the set for me for dress rehearsal. They go, okay. I get to the thing. Randy goes. I cue. I go around. I get in between the thing, and there I see Randy opens the door to the phone box. I'm about to put the syringe in the hole to squirt him in the face to get him wet, and I get drenched. The prop guys double-crossed me. They went and told Randy. Randy goes, okay, go get me a turkey baster filled with water and leave it inside the phone box. So he found out where the hole was, and he sees my face in there, and he goes, boom. And I was the whole crew was laughing, but the show had to go on. And that's and no one in the control room knew it. So we did stuff every day. We did some stuff.
So just a side note to that, that was my very first day back after I had been gone for 3 years. That was my very first day of shooting back. And as funny as that was to you and me, Brendan, and the crew and everybody else, the executive producer, who had never worked with me before, was not a happy camper about that. She did not like that, and she let me know.
So yes, Peggy, to answer your question, every day something different, and
every day
you stop the show in rehearsal, and they make a bloopers reel out of it. But when you're taping, there's bloopers that happen, but you don't want. I don't want to be responsible for stopping tapings. Television's rolling, you know.
So I know we got started a little bit late here today. So are you guys still in for a little bit? Because we have a couple of YouTube questions I'd love to pull in if you guys are interested.
Do it.
Fine.
Okay.
Go for it.
Actually, Chris, do you have a person that wants to ask one? I think I saw something from Eric.
I do have somebody waiting in the chat room here.
Okay, let's bring them in first then.
Okay, you're in. We've got sound.
Okay, who's your question for?
My question was actually another Curtis question, and it was for Christopher. I was wondering, when you were asked back to play Curtis for the second time, or the first time you were asked back, how exactly did that work out? Were they looking to return the character to how it originally was? Or I know they've had two other Curtises that same year, and I remember in the credits it said Agnes Nixon had returned as head writer. So I was wondering if that was her idea or...
Huh. Interesting. Well, first of all, it was not the first time that they asked me to come back. It was actually and they did not ask me to come back this time. They had asked me to come back 2 more times, and I was out in California, and I was determined not to come back, and then there was a writer's strike, and my agent died, and doing another soap seemed like a really good gig. So, interestingly, I called my agent, and I told him what was going on. I heard from Tommy Tersey, who told me that they were recasting the role, and she said, they're not interested in you. And I said, they're not? She said, well, I don't know. I didn't ask them, but these are the people I am submitting. So I fired my agent and came back, and I screen tested. And I would say that Agnes Nixon must have had something to do with it, because I had actually left the show of my own volition the first time, and so there was I guess there could have been animosity, and the fact that they even, were interested for me to come back. I don't know what they really wanted to do, if they were planning on going back to the original one, but that's really the only thing that I could think to do. I went and I read the book, because they keep this stack downstairs, and I went through and I all the storylines for years and years and years. And I said, wait, he's airlifting somebody out of Kuwait, because, this is not Curtis as I know him. So I basically got rid of everything and tried to... And I actually felt like I had just kind of gotten back into my stride, where I had that, pardon my French, that... maybe I don't have to say it in French. I'll say the Eddie Haskell quality that I had gone for the first time. I felt like but then they just made it weirder and weirder, and it just, painted it into a corner, but I would say that Agnes Nixon absolutely must have had something to do with it. But the one who I'll really give credit for, because I had a screen test when I came back, the one that I'll really give credit for it was Matt Penn, who ended up being the executive producer of Law & Order years later. But he's the one that saw the screen test, and he's the one that said, pick that guy. So I owe it to a lot of people. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's an honor just to be nominated. Thanks for asking.
Awesome. This one's actually for Randy. Did you fall through the skylight in Ava's apartment, or was that a stunt double?
Well, no, I did it, but the way they shot it made it look like, I fell 20 feet. All they did was it's hard to explain, but there's a huge pad, almost like a trampoline down below. So they would shoot me falling through to this trampoline, to this padded trampoline, and then they would cut, and then they would show the last 2 or 3 feet where I would hit the ground. So it's all tricks. Brendan, if I'm not mistaken, we never really did a lot of stunt guys. I mean, not that we didn't do it, we did, but there weren't a lot of stunt guys there. So they would do a lot of camera tricks to make it look like I fell through the skylight.
The late great Danny Aiello was one of our stunt winners, and he would also know the actors or actresses that would be safe with it and would do it. So they gave the director and the producers more option to see the real person doing it, so it didn't look like, oh, you're just shooting the back of a head, depending on how far the fall was. And as Randy says it, you drop them onto a mat, they cut to a frame, and then they actually drop them through the glass, which is not real glass, and you see that on thing, but he's totally safe. He might have fallen a foot and a half. It's the way they frame the cameras and then edit it all together to make it look thing. But we did a lot of our own stunts. But you do get stunt guys in sometimes for the really big.
I had a stunt that I really wanted to do, and they wouldn't let me. Which was I blew up when I blew up Don Lee's plane. They had a springboard. So when the explosion hit, you get power ejected off the springboard and fly into some padding. They wouldn't let me do it.
Yeah, no, that's
some guy with a hat did it.
Yeah, it's always weird when there's a stunt double. You're showing a lot of backs of heads and stuff, and they try to match the hair and the frame as much as possible. But it's always nice to see the face of something when they're doing something like that. But it depends on
dangerous.
Depends on how dangerous it is. It's because it's swords and all that stuff. But but that's that.
Yeah, you lose an actor, you cost the production company a lot of money. Yeah. So whether you want to do it or not, they're making a business decision. If they think there's the slightest possibility you're going to get hurt, you're not going to do it.
Oh, but Randy, there's plenty of actors out there.
What's that?
There's plenty of actors out there.
There was one. Was one that I did that I didn't think was much of a stunt, except for the fact that I really wanted it to look like when Dante had me chained in the closet.
Crazy stuff.
And I escaped. I had to jump out of the closet with the chain, and I really wanted it to look like the chain went and was really tight and pulled me back down. And I did that, and my leg was getting chewed up. But what I didn't realize is that after the third take, I heard snap, and I had broken a rib.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
You remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that. I remember Tom Christopher played Dante. He did some. That was a crazy storyline.
Well, where are we going now? Producer friend.
You guys have any questions for each other? If you have a few more minutes, Chris, do you have any final words?
I have an idea.
Hey! Look at that baby.
Randy,
Oh, hello!
Now,
it's me.
So cute.
Yeah.
How old, Brendan? How old is he? How old is she?
She's out. She usually loves Zoom. We do Zoom every week.
Yeah, she
How
wants to
old
get
is
in
she,
the
Brenda?
pool.
2.5, right? 2.
all right, I got to end with this here now. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm gonna go back a bit here. We got a couple of dads here who waited till later in life to become dads. There's Brendan.
Oh, yeah.
There's James. James, I don't know.
Yeah.
Is that your first son?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I've got a 16-year-old, so I was 40.
2.5.
Best role I ever played. Let me
Yeah,
tell
it's
you.
great. Isn't it great?
I love it.
So
love it.
was it work? Was it not the right person? What? How did it end up being so late in life?
I was married once before, and she did not want to have children due to some stuff. And then I met my beautiful wife here in LA. And when all the things come together, when you have work and you're back to being who you want to be and work and paying the bills, then you can kind of start concentrating on meeting a person, and then you go, okay, time for a baby. Oh, she doesn't want to go. Yeah, so it was just the timing in life, but best thing I've ever done. Really.
Well, I had to swear off actresses.
Yeah.
Swear off actresses is a good idea.
I had two long relationships with actresses. God bless them both. But I just I wasn't ready to settle down because I was on my own ego trip, as we all are as actors, and I just had to reach a point where I was ready to settle down. I'd bought a house like the year before. That was the first property I ever owned. And then I need a gal pal here to share this with me. And then I met her. I said, "Look, I'm on a time clock, honey. I'm going to expire any minute. So I need a baby." So she was willing.
Hey, I want to point out the fact that you swore off actresses and you ended up marrying a fan.
Well,
Very good. Beautiful Italian one too.
Yeah. Hey, baby.
No dummy. He's no dummy.
No. And she's an Italian cook too, so nothing wrong with that.
Do you have anything that you like amongst yourselves?
We talk all the time. So.
Oh, you do?
You guys became.
I'll say one thing that James wasn't involved in some of these. Maybe he was with one of them, but the three of us, and along with TW and these guys in the photo, Dennis, we did a lot of charity work. And I think that was one thing that I really, really appreciated about my time on the show was that we were able to give back. And we spent a lot of weekends up in Springfield, Massachusetts. Shout out to all the Make-A-Wish people out there who really that was so much of a bonding experience for all of us. We had such a great time doing those events.
Yeah. I got to do, I do cabaret act, and I was able to do that for a Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, I remember, and just the opportunity to sing because I missed that, but I've done a few musicals and
just to get back into our community.
Absolutely.
I have to tell you that Lauren Taylor's been on, and she wants to know how you guys are all still so handsome.
Oh, well.
Oh, Lauren.
Oh.
You tell Lauren that I have mirrors in my house. She can't blow too much smoke. I have mirrors.
We love Lauren. We have some great stories about Lauren. She was one of the best to work with ever.
Tell a good Lauren story while we got her on the.
Oh God.
Oh, breastfeeding. Breastfeeding.
Well, she told that story
in the makeup room, and we were all fascinated at the science of it.
There's stories
There's one thing that stays with me about Lauren. I never forget. She's having her third child, I think, and she was exercising, and I said, "How do you do? What's it like, having your third child?" Or something along the lines of, do you guys still have sex? And she said, "Oh yeah, we bop until it drops." So never gonna say that.
This is Lauren's. This is actually Lauren Marie's story, and she told it during the Ladies of Loving thing. But they pulled her into the office and said,
This is good.
So when are you going to lose the baby fat? She said when Perry Stephen loses his love handles.
No.
I can only say that because she said it already.
She did say it, yeah.
Laura Marie is one of the best people I've ever worked with. She was a real great.
She was a hoot.
Yeah, she had a ball.
But she's my East Coast wife.
We love you, Laura Marie. If you're there, we love you.
All right. So, how's everybody doing? We're getting close to.
I got to get running. My daughter's like.
Okay. Could we do one shot real quick before?
How can I take a picture of this from my computer?
We'll send you a screenshot.
So, Chris, can you do a 1, 2, 3, and we'll all just
I
do
think
a pose or something?
I think Brendan should do that.
All right.
Who should?
Brendan.
Here we go. 5.
Oh,
4,
Brendan should. Yeah. Okay.
3, 2, action.
Bye. Thanks for coming. Oh, is that what we're doing? I'm sorry.
No. Wait. I want to do it still, like everybody be still, not waving, so we can actually grab it when we go back.
Oh, okay.
Work with us, Chris.
I'm sorry.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Is that, we can't freeze it without freezing. The miracle.
It's always a little bit blurry, though.
Brendan, you have to quit moving around.
I was still.
It's always a little bit blurry when you try to capture it. Oh, he wants another countdown. Okay, let's go.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Chip is actually frozen perfectly. That's a beautiful shot there.
Oh, man.
You do this for a living?
All right, so thank you to anybody else have anything else to say?
No, thank
Oh,
you.
this is great. This Tricia. Thank you, Tricia, for putting this.
Thank you,
together.
Tricia. Thank you. Before you guys come off the YouTube thing, if you have pairings of what you would want to see for people, like we can see any of these people again, we can see some of the ladies love this, people that weren't available that we want to bring in. So if you have like relationships or brother, sister, or siblings or family rivals or however you want, if you have show ideas you want, send them out to us. You can go to the fan site with Loving. You can come to our Facebook page you can comment on the bottom of the YouTube page on the Showrunner Productions NYC. Like and subscribe us, please. We'd love to keep doing some more of these.
Thank you all for coming. I hope you had a good time, and thanks for coming. Anyone else?
Thank you, man.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, guys. Thank you all.
See you guys later.
Everybody.
Bye.
You guys.